Officer Rick Miller sat idly in his patrol car, the AC barely keeping the heat at bay. Across the street, a sleek black sedan pulled into a parking space near the courthouse. From the car stepped a striking woman in a tailored navy suit, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. She carried a leather briefcase, her posture exuding confidence and purpose. Miller's eyes narrowed. There was something about her that rubbed him the wrong way. Not her demeanor, not her actions, but something deeper, unspoken. "She doesn't belong here," he muttered to himself. Adjusting his sunglasses, he slammed the door of his patrol car and strode toward her. "Ma'am!" he called out, his voice echoing across the busy street. The woman stopped, turning slowly. Her expression was calm, her eyebrows slightly raised in mild surprise. "Yes, officer." "You're parked in a restricted zone," Miller said, motioning toward her car. "This area is off limits." The woman glanced at the sign, then back at him. "I'm here for a meeting at the courthouse," she said evenly. "I'll only be a moment." Miller's lips twitched into a smirk. "A meeting at the courthouse, huh? Let's see some ID. And while you're at it, what's in the briefcase?" Her eyebrows furrowed. "Why do you need to see inside my briefcase? Am I under suspicion of a crime?" "Let's just call it standard procedure," Miller replied, crossing his arms. "Comply, or we'll have to take this downtown." Around them, people began to slow their steps, drawn to the rising tension. Some glanced at their phones, subtly recording the exchange. The woman glanced around, noticing the small crowd forming. She sighed, pulling out her wallet. "This is unnecessary," she said, handing over her ID. Miller barely glanced at it before his focus returned to her briefcase. "What's in the bag?" he repeated, his voice louder this time. "Nothing that concerns you," she replied firmly. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an important meeting to attend." Miller stepped directly into her path, blocking her way. "Important, huh? Late for something shady, maybe?" Her phone buzzed in her hand, and she answered it without hesitation. "Hello, Chief Rodriguez. This is Federal Prosecutor Angela Carter. I'm outside the courthouse and I'm being detained without cause by one of your officers. Could you send someone down, please?" The words seemed to echo in the air, silencing even the hum of passing cars. Miller blinked, caught off guard, but his arrogance wouldn't let him back down. "A prosecutor? That's a good one," he scoffed. Angela's voice remained steady. "Yes, Chief. His name is Officer Rick Miller." She ended the call and looked directly at Miller. "I suggest you think carefully about your next move, officer." Miller's confidence wavered for a moment before he straightened his posture. "Look, lady." "Miss Carter," she corrected sharply. "Fine. Miss Carter," he said, the sarcasm in his tone unmistakable. "You're not above the law. I'm just doing my job." "And your job includes violating people's rights?" she asked, her voice steady but firm. "You have no probable cause to search my belongings or detain me." Miller opened his mouth to respond, but the sound of screeching tires cut him off. A black SUV pulled up to the curb, its tinted windows gleaming under the sun. The door opened, and out stepped Chief Gabriel Rodriguez. Rodriguez's presence was commanding. His crisp uniform and no-nonsense demeanor silenced the murmurs in the crowd. He walked toward them, his eyes scanning the situation with practiced precision. "Officer Miller," he said, his voice sharp. "What's going on here?" Miller straightened, his confidence returning with the arrival of his superior. "Sir, this woman was parked in a restricted zone, and she's refusing to cooperate with a basic inspection." Rodriguez's eyes flicked to Angela, then back to Miller. "Ms. Carter," he said, his tone softening. "Are you all right?" "I'm fine, Chief," Angela replied. "But your officer here seems to think he can intimidate me into compliance. He demanded to search my belongings without cause and escalated this situation unnecessarily." Rodriguez's expression darkened. He turned back to Miller. "Do you know who you're speaking to?" Miller faltered. "She said she's a prosecutor, but—" "She's not just a prosecutor," Rodriguez interrupted. "She's Angela Carter, one of the top federal prosecutors in the state, and she's here on official business." The color drained from Miller's face as the weight of Rodriguez's words sank in. Rodriguez's tone grew colder. "This department has no room for this kind of behavior, Officer Miller. Hand over your badge and weapon. Effective immediately. You're suspended pending an internal investigation." The crowd, now larger, murmured in shock. Phones captured every second of the unfolding drama. "Sir, Miller began, but Rodriguez cut him off. "You've embarrassed this department, and worse, you've undermined the trust we work so hard to build with the community," Rodriguez said. "Now hand over your badge." Reluctantly, Miller unclipped his badge and holstered weapon, handing them to Rodriguez. Angela adjusted her blazer, her composure unshaken. "I trust this matter will be handled appropriately, Chief Rodriguez," she said. "Absolutely, Ms. Carter," Rodriguez replied. Angela turned and walked up the courthouse steps, her head held high. The crowd began to disperse, some whispering words like justice and accountability. For Angela, the incident was yet another reminder of the systemic issues she'd spent her career fighting against. For Miller, it was a day that would haunt him, a day when his prejudice cost him everything. As the courthouse doors closed behind her, Angela knew her fight was far from over. But in that moment, she felt a small victory, a reminder that even in the face of bias and injustice, truth and dignity could still prevail. If you found this story powerful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more stories about accountability and justice.